This last, easily unnoticed remark is significant because it implies the importance of critically evaluating cultural beliefs and practices. Thus, cultural diversity and respect are not interpreted as justification for thinking that anything goes. According to the curriculum, school systematically promotes respect and trust towards other nationalities and people groups. Moreover, pupils need to become acquainted with the key human rights treaties and their interpretation and implementation. Thus, both practical and theoretical knowledge of human rights are emphasized in the Finnish core curriculum. Despite this emphasis, the curriculum fails to address the complex issue of how cultural recognition and cultural criticism may conflict. Accordingly, it fails to address the challenge of dealing with cultural differences when those differences are related to ethical values and inalienable rights. Due to a lack of time, I will not discuss the curricula of individual school subjects, even though they were interesting and important. Instead, I will concentrate on broad observations regarding the fundamental principles of the Finnish curriculum. Therefore, I next expand on the study's findings, focusing on the ethical implications of the curriculum's key elements. However, one observation from various school subjects deserves to be mentioned here. Globalization and cultural diversity are significantly more prominent in the curricula of languages, religion and life stance education than in the curricula of other school subjects in Finland. As indicated previously, the curriculum places considerable greater emphasis on cultural diversity than on globalization. There can be several reasons for this, including culture being a more commonly used and well-known term than globalization. Furthermore, from the school children's point of view, cultural differences and similarities may be more visible and tangible than the effects of globalization on economic and social development. Notwithstanding, it is certain that globalization has altered the way education programs are delivered, with the increased emphasis on the importance of learning about and appreciating different cultures. Cultural and socio-psychological aspects of globalization receive the most attention in the Finnish curriculum, as evidenced by the fact that cultural diversity is discussed in all curriculum sections. As stated, the economic aspect of globalization is most prominent when discussing work and professions. The curriculum emphasizes how technological progress and economic globalization are altering work and employment. Therefore, the curriculum requires pupils to acquire general social and communication skills in order to cultivate their capabilities for work and economic life. As a result, the curriculum takes a highly instrumental approach to globalization. The Finnish core curriculum takes for granted that pupils grow up in a culturally, linguistically, religiously, and ideologically diverse world. Against this backdrop, the curriculum states that cultural competence is necessary for culturally sustainable living and working. Respect for human rights, interpersonal skills, and the ability to express oneself and one's opinions are said to be prerequisites for such competence. The curriculum emphasizes expressive capacity as an important dimension of cultural competence, including language proficiency and argumentation skills. More broadly, the curriculum paints a rosy picture of education as something that encourages students to become active participants in their culture and community, and also promotes an interest in other cultures. In this regard, the curriculum could be blamed for encouraging dreaming, while failing to provide adequate guidance on how to make those dreams a reality. The emphasis on the need for students to develop a coherent identity and healthy self-esteem in a multicultural setting is part of the normative educational goals provided by the Finnish curriculum. Although the curriculum makes no mention of it, in a multicultural environment, representatives of minorities may face harmonizing pressure from the dominant culture, while representatives of the majority may perceive new cultural currents as a threat to to their traditions and values. Nevertheless, one might think that when globalization and cultural diversity are discussed, the curriculum does an adequate job on focusing on the pupil's point of view and personal growth. On the other hand, as a result of this emphasis on internal development, the external effects of globalization and critical discussion on them are underrepresented in the Finnish curriculum. Furthermore, the globalization induced barriers to pupils' personal development, such as harmonizing pressure, remain unaddressed. As a result, the concept of globalization is presented rather thinly in the Finnish curriculum, and the concept is not challenged, let alone problematized. As indication of this thinness, social issues such as widening income disparities and persistent gender inequalities, which are frequently supported by traditional paternalistic values, as well as issues of cultural homogenization and assimilation, go unaddressed. Rather than delving into these issues, globalization is accepted as a fact to which societies must adapt because they have no choice. In the curriculum, the positive aspects of globalization are highlighted, such as the spread of cultural influences, increased intercultural communication, and opportunities to meet people from different cultures. The curriculum keeps silent about the violent aspects of globalization, in which one culture's traditions, practices, and customs are gradually and inadvertently replaced by those of another. This gives the impression that globalization and cultural diversity are primarily viewed from a utilitarian standpoint in the Finnish curriculum. Eventually, the benefits of globalization are emphasized, while the problems and disadvantages are downplayed. From an ethical standpoint, this is a significant shortcoming, because providing a one-sided, if not misrepresentative view of globalization doesn't foster the development of students into responsible, honest, and critical citizens and consumers. A similar issue impedes the discussion of different cultural traditions and their potential drawbacks. Yet, culture can be a barrier to progress in a variety of spheres, including social advancement and ethical advancement. In the Finnish curriculum, there is no discussion of the difference between ethics as universal moral principles, independent from social and cultural contingencies, and cultural habits such as cuisines, greeting styles, and ways of dressing. Rather, the fact of cultural pluralism is accepted as a given, with no discussion of various dimensions or potential problems and solutions related to cultural pluralism. As stated, in the Finnish national curriculum, there's little discussion of the possibility of and need for a global ethics, such as duty ethics with universal rules that would connect all people, regardless of origin. Despite the lack of explicit discussion on various ethical frameworks, the UN Declaration of Human Rights appears several times in the Finnish core curriculum. Hence, the curriculum makes an implicit assumption of global ethics in the form of universal human rights. This demonstrates that curriculum, at least indirectly, assumes that the main point of ethics is to provide rules that are right and good for everyone, regardless of where they come from. When this result is combined with the obvious utilitarian emphasis in the curriculum's ethical consideration, the result is an ethical understanding that emphasizes the maximization of economic and other benefits related to globalization, and the minimization of social harms, so that as many people as possible, if not all people, can feel that their basic rights have been respected. This represents a kind of mixed model of ethics, in which utilitarian considerations are emphasized but refined with duty ethical considerations arising from universal human rights. One could see that this model of representing a kind of rule consequentialism. In moral philosophy, rule consequentialism refers to the ethical view